Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be here virtually with seriously one of my closest friends from middle school, believe it or not. And here we are, like umpteen years later, in this virtual space, and I have the honor and privilege of interviewing her about her career. So I will let you take it away, Courtney.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for having me as well. I am Courtney Shen DeShetler. I am a licensed psychologist in California. And you can see me, I'm in my office. I actually run a completely 100% online private practice, which I started in October of 2019. So I was blessed to have this kind of up and running by the time that COVID hit. But I have been mostly working with individuals and couples, and I work with adolescents as well as adults, primarily focusing on issues around anxiety and issues around relationships, both prior to marriage and after marriage. And I will say that I started in this career, I kind of knew that I wanted to be a therapist probably since middle school. I think we talked about it, right?
We were like looking at programs together. Like, I don't know what other middle schooler like did that, but we were on like Princeton Review looking at like what schools. Yeah. So this was totally your vision for a long time.
So I had spent on my mind. And there were a few moments when I was looking into careers where I changed my mind and I thought, well, maybe I want to be an OBGYN, or maybe I want to be a choreographer. And it was just kind of like all over the place of ideas, but I kept coming back to psychology, and I kept coming back to just the joy that I get from talking to people and connecting on a deeper level and just helping people get unstuck in their lives. And I grew up in a blended family from different cultures and backgrounds, and different worldviews. And the challenges that we experienced in coming together really sparked my own desire to help other people do the same. And so I'm thrilled every single time that I get to help clients work through any of those issues. And so I will say, going in after college, I consider myself to be a professional student throughout my 20s. I am now 31. But throughout my 20s, I was only in school pretty much and doing side jobs just to make additional money. I started out doing a marriage and family therapy program after I got my bachelor's in psychology, just because I wanted to make sure that therapy was the right fit for me. Mm-hmm. And I was glad I did that, because there are quite a few people in my program who decided to switch careers after that. And then after I got my MFT master's degree, I decided to do a postmaster's PsyD in clinical psychology. And this meant that it was only 4 years, where most doctoral programs are 5 or more. Mm-hmm. And I knew at this point I didn't really care about doing a whole lot of research. I wanted to do the clinical work. And I knew that a clinical program was going to give me the supervision and a lot of the clinical experience to get the training that I wanted and that I needed. And so I went in. I only applied to 2 programs, doctoral programs. One was in marriage and family therapy, and the other was in clinical psychology. But I fell in love with the clinical psych program because of the diversity of professors, their mission, and just the wealth of opportunities that they had. I was in the Los Angeles area through Pepperdine. So I decided to go through that. And then by the time I got my license, I was ready to stop school and to start doing the work.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah. It sounds like, I don't know, one of the most transformational moments for you in really understanding whether or not it was the research path or the clinical path was that clinical experience in marriage and family therapy
right.
that you were doing in your MFT program. Is that correct? And then you went on. Okay.
Yeah, I gained a year experience through the MFT program doing therapy with both couples, individuals, and families. And I knew after that this was the path I wanted to go on.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important to be true to yourself and to really self-reflect a little bit about what it is that you're feeling, because this is
Yep.
really important stuff, right? It's like 5 years of your life or 4 years of your life that could be what you wanted or what you didn't. So it's really impressive that you were able to kind of lead in the direction that you wanted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
will say it's not without any self-doubt at times, but I definitely do feel like I went on the path that was right for me. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
everybody, has their own path. So, wherever it is that yours might be, I think that's maybe a good word of advice is just be true to yourself and know that it's
Absolutely.
okay, right? Like even those people that had thought that they wanted to pursue a PsyD and then said, hey,
Hmm.
this is actually not right for me. And they gave themselves permission and they were kind to themselves to just be like, hey, I have interest in other areas and it's okay for me to stop this right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So pretty cool. So you talked a bit already about what brings you joy, but I always love to ask people what brings them joy. I think this is by far my favorite question.
I would say, there's so many things that bring me joy, but um, just in terms of the twists and turns that my life has taken, whenever I look back and I ask myself, like, did I make the right choice? I always think about the relationships that were built along the way. And to me, regardless of the choices I made, the people that I met along the way made it worth it, right? Like there are certain people that I would never meet or talk to if I hadn't made a certain career choice or life choice.
Yeah.
And so just the deep connections that I make along the way bring me a lot of joy. And all the clients that I've met since 2013 when I started doing therapy, they each have touched me in different ways and changed my life in certain ways. That just keeps me going. So,
Yeah, no, and
yeah.
that's really like it really touches and hits home for me as well. And I hope for others that might be listening to this, because again, it's like it's truly about the journey, right? It's not like the 10-year plan. It's like, what am I doing today in this room with these people that is heartwarming, and
Mhm.
allows me to be content and authentic. And what can I learn? It sounds like you're always growing and learning. And how you even said, like, I was a professional student, but I feel like we all kind of are indefinitely, right? If we're in that
Mhm.
growth phase, which can be really helpful. So thank you for sharing that. However, you'd like to frame maybe some words of wisdom or some advice or insights from all the experience and the lessons that you've learned along the way would be great.
Yeah, I will share one of the major things I didn't learn until after grad school, until I started my private practice. And that is that as a therapist, and as clients, you should know this too, not every client therapist relationship is effective or helpful, right? I know that I will not be the right therapist for everyone. And so as a client, I would really highlight doing some research and maybe even consulting with a few different therapists before you set on one for therapy, because it is a deeply intimate and vulnerable experience and exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And you should feel like you can be yourself and be accepted for who you are in the space that you're in. And as a therapist, it's okay to cut yourself some slack too and say, I cannot help everyone, and I'm not for everyone, and that is okay. So that's probably my biggest thing when it comes to therapy.
So how do you really know? Do you have any key questions that you think are more beneficial when you're trying to target the right provider for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will say I actually do video consults because I think um, being able to see someone in person does really help, or at least through video. There's
Yeah.
a lot of nonverbals that can be shared through that. Um, but definitely asking what the clinician's specialties are, and sharing a little bit about what you're hoping to get out of therapy, so that that clinician can say, oh, yes, I've had experience with that, or I know how to help you with that, would be very, very helpful. And then also if you come from a marginalized background, or you've had trauma in your history, potentially due to racism or classism or any or other sort of oppression, that you're able to ask the therapist, what is your experience working with this population? So that you also know that you will have a safe space to kind of delve into those issues that inevitably will impact you in your life.
Courtney, this has been great. I wish that we could talk. I mean, we could talk for hours. I just don't know that people would have the time. But I will definitely make sure that we post all the resources. I will also be sharing a 2 tips in 2 minutes video with Courtney. So this is not the last that you've heard of her.